The night I realized my wife didn't love me the same way anymore, nothing dramatic happened. No screaming, no thrown plates, no slammed doors. Just the silence. The city outside our apartment hummed like it always did. Cars dragging light across wet asphalt, some late bus sighing at the corner. Inside, the only sound was the soft clink of her fork on the empty plate. We used to talk over stupid things. Mostly how her clients were obsessed with protein shakes, how my office smelled like burnt coffee and stale. But that night, she sat opposite me in the gray light from the window, eyes on her phone more than on me. Long day, I asked, more out of habit than curiosity. Yeah, she said, not looking up. New programs at the gym. I'm exhausted. Her name is Emma. We had been married 8 years. No kids by choice at first, then by quiet, unspoken disappointment when we'll try next year, kept becoming another year. That winter, the distance wasn't sudden. It came in tiny shifts. She started staying later at the gym. New classes. New. People want to work out after office hours. Well, she said, it's good for business. I believed. Or I wanted. The bed grew. Or maybe she just slept closer to the edge, her back turned, her breathing slow and far away. Sometimes, I would lie awake watching the red numbers on the alarm clock drift from 1:17 to 2:43 to 3:19. The rain tapped the window. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Always face down. You've been quiet lately, I said one Sunday morning over coffee. The apartment was rinsed in pale light. The city sounded softer on weekends. I'm tired, she replied. She didn't ask how I was. There were little tells I ignored. New workout clothes she never mentioned buying. A different perfume, lighter. Something that smelled like citrus and spring rain. The way she lingered in front of the mirror, not for herself, but like she was imagining someone else looking at her. I told myself it was normal. Marriage changes. Love becomes softer. Well, you get. That's what I told myself. One Tuesday, she texted at 6:15 p.m. Running late, covering for a trainer who called in sick. Don't wait up for me. The words sat on my phone, glowing over the leftovers I had just. I ate alone at the small table by the window, her chair pushed in, the cushions still neat from that morning. Outside, rain streaked down the glass in thin silver. I washed both plates anyway, like she might still walk in at any moment. I checked the time. 7:30, 8:15, 9:02. At 9:37, the building hallway echoed with footsteps, quick, light, familiar. The lock turned. Emma stepped in, cheeks flushed, hair damp, gym bag slung over one shoulder. Hey, she said, almost surprised to see me awake. How late was your last client? I asked, keeping my voice even. She hesitated for half a second. Oh, around 9. Sorry you didn't have to wait. She kissed my cheek, a quick, practiced motion, and moved past me toward the bathroom. I caught a faint scent that wasn't her perfume. Cologne. Musky, confident, lingering. New soap at the gym? I asked, following her with my eyes. She froze just a fraction before answering. Yeah, they changed brands. That night I couldn't sleep. Her phone buzzed twice on the nightstand. She turned it face down before lying in bed, but the screen still lit the room in soft blue for a second. When her breathing settled into steady waves, I stared at the rectangle of glass. My chest felt tight. I had never gone through her phone. We had passwords, of course, but we both knew each. Trust used to make those codes meaningless. Somewhere around 2 a.m., I gave in. The rain had turned heavy, drumming relentlessly against the window. I picked up her phone like it was something fragile and dangerous. The lock screen opened with familiar ease. No missed calls, but the message app had a new thread pinned to the top. Ryan PT. Ryan, her new colleague. The amazing trainer she had talked about once, months ago when she still told me small things about her day. My thumb hovered. I told myself I'd only look at the last message. The chat opened. Ryan, text me when you get home so I know you're safe. Emma, you worry too much. Ryan, can't help it, soulmates do that. Emma, good night, you idiots. I can still smell you on me. My vision blurred. For a moment, the room tilted, the edges of the dresser and window smearing. I scrolled up. There are they. Weeks of messages. Gym jokes. Inside references. Pictures of coffee cups, sweaty post-workout selfies, little hearts and fire emojis. And buried between them, words that made my stomach clench. Emma, when I'm with you, I feel seen. Ryan, that's because you're mine. You know that, right? Emma, I do. My throat burned. I scrolled faster past midnight confessions, complaints about me, about how he doesn't get it, about how I had settled into routine while Ryan made her feel alive. The last message thread stopped at a photo she had sent him earlier that evening. Her in the gym bathroom mirror, hair messy, eyes bright, headphones around her neck. Caption: "This is my happy place." Emma, I whispered, my voice barely audible in the dark. She shifted in her sleep, turning slightly toward me, eyes still closed. For a second I saw the woman I married, relaxed and unguarded, breathing slow, lips parted. I wanted to wake, to hold the phone in front of her and ask, "What is this? Who are you with when you say soulmates?" Instead, I put the phone back down, face down like she left it. The room felt. The space between us in bed had never seemed. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the rain and her steady, innocent breathing, and realized something I could not unknow. My wife had already left me. Her body was here, in this bed, in this apartment. But the part of her that once reached for my hand in the dark had moved somewhere. Somewhere with him. And I lay there, eyes open, wondering how you ask someone to come back from a place they now call home. The alarm would go off in 4 hours. She would wake up, stretch, kiss my cheek, and pretend nothing had changed. I wasn't sure if I would be able to pretend with her. Not after reading the word soulmate with his name attached to it. So I stayed very still in the dark, listening to the quiet collapse of a life I thought was solid. And I waited for morning, not sure if I wanted it to come. The morning after I found the messages, the apartment felt like a crime scene. Nothing had moved, but everything was different. Emma yawned, rolled out of bed, and padded toward the kitchen in her oversized t-shirt, bare feet soft against the wooden floor. The smell of coffee slowly filled the. "Want some?" she called. I stared at her pillow, at the faint imprint of where her head had rested while she texted another. "Yeah," I replied, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. At the table, she scrolled her phone while sipping from her mug. Her gym bag was already packed by the door. "Busy day?" I asked. "Pretty much," she said. "Ryan and I are starting that new couples boot camp. I told you about it, right?" Or maybe she had, and I hadn't heard it the way I would now. "Did you guys stay late together yesterday?" I asked. Her fingers paused above the screen. "Yeah," she said. "Too. We had to finalize stuff." I looked at her. Really looked. There were tiny lines near her eyes I hadn't noticed before. She seemed both younger and older at once, glowing with some new energy that clearly didn't come from me. "Emma," I said quietly, "who is he to you?" She blinked. "What?" "Ryan," I said. "Who is he to you?" The room went still. A car honked faintly in the distance. The coffee machine clicked off. "He's my colleague," she replied, words coming out measured. "You know that." "And your soulmate?" I asked, my throat tightening around the last. Her face drained of color. She put the mug down too. "You went through my phone," she whispered. "I went through my wife's lies," I said, softer than I expected. "Those messages weren't sent by a colleague." She closed her eyes. For a moment, she looked like someone who'd been running for a long time and finally hit a wall. "It's not what you think," she said. "The oldest script in the world." "Then tell me what it is," I replied. Silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. She looked down at her hands, fingers knotted. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said eventually. "We just connected." The word cut. "I used to be your connection," I said, more to myself than to her. Her eyes filled with tears she fought to keep from falling. "You were," she said. "You are. It's just different now." "Different how?" I asked. She swallowed. "Being with him feels like breathing," she said. "With you, it feels like remembering how I used to breathe." The honesty stung more than any lie. Did you sleep with him? I asked. Her tears finally slipped. She didn't answer, and the lack of denial was its own confession. How long? I pressed. A few months, she whispered. It started small. Talking, training together. He understood things about me I didn't even know how to explain to you. I laughed once. Of course he did. I said. He met the version of you that doesn't have to worry about bills or laundry or who takes out the trash. Her shoulders shook. I'm not saying it's right, she said. I felt alive with him. And dead with me. I finished for her. She didn't. The following days blurred. She moved into the guest room first, claiming we needed space to think. The apartment, already small, suddenly felt. At night, I heard her talking in low tones behind the closed door, the glow of her phone spilling a thin line of light under the frame. I would lie on my back in our bed, empty half-cold beside me, and trace the invisible outline of the life we were losing. Friends found out in fragments. We're going through something, she told them. He needs time, she sometimes added, like I was the one who had left. I stopped sleeping properly. The city's night sounds became a cruel soundtrack, sirens wailing somewhere far off, a drunk laugh echoing down the street, the steady hush of tires on wet pavement. The emptier the apartment felt, the louder the world outside seemed. I tried to be. I Googled words like affair recovery and emotional betrayal at 3 a.m., clicking on articles that talked about rebuilding trust and choosing to fight for the marriage. I stared at phrases like both partners must be willing until the letters blurred. One evening, a week after the confrontation, she came home earlier than usual. Her eyes were bright, nervous. We need to talk, she said. Those words used to mean I'm scared or something's wrong at work. Now they sounded like a verdict. I'm moving out, she continued. Before I could speak, I found a place near the gym, just for a while, to clear my head. Near him, I said. She flinched. This isn't about running off into the sunset, she insisted. I can't figure out what I want while I'm here. Drowning in guilt every time I look at you. So your solution is to stop looking at me, I said quietly. Her voice cracked. I don't want to hurt you more, she said. You already did. I replied. Now you're just deciding where you'd like to keep doing it. She cried then, real sobs that shook her shoulders. For a brief second, instinct made me want to reach out, to hold her like I used to when the world's scared. But my hands stayed at my sides. Do you love him? I asked. She wiped her face with her sleeve. I think so. She answered. It feels like he's my soulmate. The word landed differently this time. Less like a dream, more like a death sentence. I nodded slowly. Then go. I said. Go find out what a soulmate really is when the bills come and the shine wears off. Her mouth trembled. I'm sorry, she whispered. I never meant to destroy us. But she picked up her bags anyway. The night she left, the sky opened up. Rain hammered the sidewalks, bouncing in tiny explosions in the streetlights. She stood at the door, suitcase handle in her hand, eyes red. Please don't hate me, she said. I don't, I replied. And it was true. Hatred would have been easier than whatever this was, this hollow ache behind my ribs. Will you wait? She asked. The audacity stunned. Wait for what exactly? I asked. For me to figure it out, she said. For us. For something. The hallway light flickered above. Her eyes shone with a desperate hope that made me feel both furious and impossibly. I don't know, I answered honestly. She nodded. Like that was the best she could hope. Then she turned and disappeared down the stairs, footsteps fading into the hum of distant traffic. For a long time, I stood in the doorway, watching the rain swallow her. Eventually, I went back inside to an apartment that suddenly echoed. Her mug on the counter, her hair tie on the coffee, an indentation on the couch cushion where she had sat for years. The traces of her were everywhere, but the person was gone. Nights bled into each other after that. I'd fall asleep on the couch with the TV murmuring quietly, wake up at 3 a.m. to an empty room. Sometimes I'd check her social media, see blurry stories of gym sessions, motivational quotes, a flash of his arm around her shoulders. Each glimpse was a cut, but also a strange confirmation. She had built a new world, and I was not in it. The turning point came months later. I was walking home from the late train, rain starting to fall in soft sheets when I saw them. Emma and Ryan, standing under the awning of a closed cafe. They weren't kissing. They weren't laughing. They looked like two people mid-argument, their bodies tense, faces tight. Her arms were crossed, expression worn and tired. He gestured sharply, jaw clenched. For a moment, I stopped. The streetlight reflected in puddles at my feet, cars hissing by, engines. They didn't see me. I watched my wife, my ex, almost, standing with her soulmate, and saw no magic. Just two flawed people, soaked in the same rain, trapped in the same human mess. I could have walked up. I could have said her name. But something in me shifted instead. I turned away, letting the rain soak my jacket, and kept walking into the night, leaving them. For the first time since she left, I realized I had a choice too. I didn't have to keep waiting in the ruins of what we were. I just didn't yet know what moving on would look. A year is a strange amount of time, long enough for habits to rearrange, short enough that ghosts still remember the way home. By the time 12 months had passed since Emma walked out with her suitcase, the apartment no longer felt like a mausoleum. Just small, quiet. I learned the cadence of solitude. Saturday mornings with coffee and a book instead of arguments about who forgot to buy oat milk. Long walks through the city, noticing details I'd never cared about before. The cracked tile outside the bakery, the way steam rose from subway grates in winter. I put her things in boxes slowly, not out of anger but necessity. Her scarves, her old running shoes, the framed photo from our honeymoon that once sat on the bedside. Each object made a small sound as it settled into. Friends asked if I was seeing anyone. I wasn't. I was still trying to learn how to see myself without her reflection. Then, one gray afternoon, as rain whispered against the windows again, she knocked on my door. I almost didn't recognize the sound. No one used the buzzer much. Delivery guys called instead. I opened the door to find Emma on the threshold. Hair shorter, face. She was holding an umbrella, dripping onto the hallway. "Hi," she said. The word folded time. For a second, I saw us at 25 again, nervously signing the lease on the same place, laughing about how the windows rattled in. Then the present rushed back, heavy and awkward, crowding the doorway. "Hey," I replied, gripping the frame to steady myself. "Can we talk?" she asked, eyes searching mine. It would have been easy to slam the door, or to tell her there was nothing left to say. But closure has its own gravity, and part of me had been waiting for this storm to circle back. "Yeah," I said. "Come in." She stepped inside cautiously, as if the floor might give way. Her gaze swept the apartment, noting the missing pictures, the new chair in the corner, the single mug on the counter. "You changed the curtains," she said. "They were falling apart," I answered. "Sunlight does that to things." We sat opposite each other at the table where we'd once shared hundreds of dinners. The air between us held too many versions of us, happy, hurt, indifferent, exhausted. She folded her hands, knuckles white. "How have you been?" she asked, the small talk landing like an insult. "Alive," I said. "Mostly." She flinched, accepting the "I deserve that," she murmured. Silence settled again, filled with the low hum of the fridge and the faint hiss of traffic. "Why are you here, Emma?" I asked. Her eyes glossed. "I left him," she said. I had imagined that sentence 100 different ways. In fantasies. It came with remorse and grand apologies, proof that the universe punishes those who break vows. In nightmares, it came with entitlement, her assuming she could waltz back into my life because hers had fallen apart. Reality was just 4 words, tired and fragile. "What happened?" I asked, not quite able to keep curiosity from my voice. She let out a short, humorless laugh. "We happened," she said. "We as in 2 imperfect people who confused adrenaline for destiny." She looked at her hands. Living with someone is different than meeting them at their best hour of the day. She continued. The version of Ryan I fell for existed in mirrors and gym playlists and carefully lit selfies. I said nothing. "He was charming when he was the escape," she went. But in real life, he was angry. Impatient, everything was about him, his schedule, his clients, his image. I swallowed. And you, I asked quietly. I became the thing he resented, she said. The reminder that he wasn't this free, unattached guy anymore. Arguments about money, about late nights, about boundaries with his clients. It all started sounding like the stuff I used to complain about with you. Her voice cracked. I got cheated on, she added, almost in disbelief. There was someone else. A client. I saw the texts, the pictures, the exact same patterns just reversed. The irony sat between us like a third person. How did it feel? I asked, harsher than I intended. She winced. Like my world had been ripped open, she whispered. Like every certainty I had about us was a lie. Like what I did to you. The admission hung in the air, raw and unadorned. Tears spilled over, tracking clean lines down her. I thought leaving you for my soulmate was some kind of brave, honest choice, she said. I told myself I was following my heart. But it wasn't bravery, it was selfishness, dressed up as destiny. She looked up at me, eyes red. I ruined my life, she said plainly. I ruined yours too. And now I'm standing in the ruins wondering if there's anything left that isn't burned. The part of me that had fantasized about her crying like this didn't feel victorious. It just felt. What do you want from me? I asked. She inhaled shakily. I want to apologize, she said. Really apologize. Not those half-hearted, I didn't mean to hurt you lines I gave when I was still halfway out the door. I knew what I was doing. I chose it anyway. Her shoulders trembled. And I want a chance, she added, the words barely above a whisper. A chance to fix something. Even if it's not us as a couple, even if you never look at me the same way again. I can't keep walking around with this weight without at least trying to make amends. I stared at her. You left me for another man, I said. You called him your soulmate. You asked me to wait while you tried him on for size. Now that he's shown you his worst, you're back here, asking if there's room for you in the life you walked out of. She nodded, tears falling freely. Yes, she said. When you put it like that, I sound monstrous. I probably am, but I'm also sorry, deeply. In a way I didn't understand, until I became the one standing where you stood. I looked past her at the windows streaked with rain. The city blurred, shapes of cars and buildings melting into gray. Do you still love me? She asked suddenly, desperation lacing her voice. The question hung there, echoing years of anniversaries and fights and quiet mornings. I don't know what that word means with you anymore. I answered. Whatever I felt died and grew back into something else. She closed her eyes, absorbing the. I would do anything, she said. Therapy, rebuilding trust step by step, living apart while we work through it. I know I don't deserve another chance, but I'm still asking. Her voice cracked on the last. Outside, thunder rolled faintly, like distant furniture being moved in the sky. I'm not the person you left, I said quietly. Waiting in that empty apartment changed me. Seeing you with him changed me. Learning to live alone changed me. She nodded. I know, she said. I'm not asking you to pretend none of it happened. I couldn't forgive myself without coming here first. The room felt very small. The table between us, once just furniture, now felt like a border. Stay for dinner, I heard myself say. We can talk. More. Her eyes widened with hope and something like fear. Are you sure? She asked. I'm not sure about anything, I replied. But I think we owe at least one honest conversation to the people we used to be. She nodded, wiping her. Okay, she whispered. I stood and moved toward the kitchen, the familiar movements feeling strangely foreign with her presence behind me again. As the pan warmed and the smell of garlic slowly filled the room, I heard her walk around, soft footsteps on old floorboards. She paused near the bookshelf where our wedding photo used to hang. Only a faint, lighter rectangle on the wall remained. You took it down, she said. I had to. I answered. She was quiet for a long moment. Do you think you'll ever put it back up? She asked. I stared at the sizzle in the pan, at the small, ordinary miracle of food transforming under heat. I don't know, I said. Behind me. The rain intensified, tapping against the glass in uneven rhythms, like a question that had not yet found its answer. And somewhere between the smell of cooking and the sound of storm, I realized the next words we shared, could change the shape of both our lives again. I just didn't know in which direction. Emma stayed for dinner that night. We ate in a silence that wasn't quite comfortable, but no longer hostile. Between bites, she told me stories about the year away, the good, the bad, the parts that made her cheeks burn with shame. I listened not as a husband trying to win her back, but as a witness to the consequences of a choice both of us would carry. She didn't spare herself. She talked about the honeymoon phase with Ryan, the dizzy rush of newness, the way she felt high on being chosen every day. Then she described the slow souring, the jealousy, the suspicion, the late-night arguments echoing the ones we once had, just with different names and locations. I kept waiting for the feeling to match the fantasy, she said, staring into her glass of water. It never did. It was just life, messy and ordinary, and I'd burned down the one steady thing I had to chase it. People do that a lot, I said quietly. Trade something real for something shiny. I didn't just trade, she replied. I stole. From you, from us. I took the future we were building and spent it like it was mine alone. We washed the dishes together, out of muscle memory. Her shoulder brushed mine once, sending a ripple of old familiarity down my spine. I stepped slightly away. When the kitchen was clean, she stood in the living room, eyes moving from object to object like each one contained a different version of us. Do you ever think about what might have happened if I'd stayed? She asked. Every day for a while, I admitted. Then less. Then only sometimes, now mostly when it rains. A sad smile tugged at her lips. It always rained when we fought, she said. Maybe we only remember the storms, I replied. It was late by then. The city outside had thinned to scattered headlights and the occasional distant siren. You can take the bed, I said abruptly. I'll sleep on the couch. She shook her head. No, she said. I'm not here to reclaim your space. The couch is fine if you're okay with me staying. Her humility disarmed me. Okay, I said. I found an old blanket, laid it on the couch, watched her tuck herself into the short cushions, like someone trying not to occupy more room than she deserved. Thank you, she whispered into the dimness. I turned off the lights. The apartment sank into that familiar twilight of street lamps seeping through curtains, leaving everything washed in blue and gray. In bed, I stared at the ceiling again. Just like the night I found the messages. Only now the phone on the nightstand was mine, face up, silent. Sleep came in fragments. At some point, I heard muffled sobs from the living room. I stayed where I was, torn between the instinct to comfort and the knowledge that some pain can't be touched without reopening your own. Morning arrived. Pale light spilled across the floorboards, turning the dust motes into tiny, drifting planets. The rain had. For the first time in a long time, the world felt still. I got up quietly and walked to the living room. Emma was awake, sitting upright on the couch, wrapped in the blanket like a shield. Her eyes were puffy, but there was a strange calm in them. Did you sleep at all? I asked. Well, enough, she said. I did a lot of thinking. I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, and I prompted. She took a breath. I came here hoping some part of you might still want me, she said, even if you didn't know it yet. That maybe we could start over, rebuild something from the ashes. She looked down at her hands, then back up at me. But I think that would be a second selfishness, she continued. I'd be asking you to carry the weight of my regret so I don't have to feel it alone. I let her words settle. What do you think is fair? I asked. I don't know if fair exists here, she replied, but I know what's honest. You deserve a life that isn't built around my mistakes, a love that didn't have to compete with the ghost of someone else. Silence fell again, but it was different now. Less like a wound, more like a room waiting to be repainted. I forgive you, I heard myself say. The words surprised us both. Her mouth opened slightly. You what? She asked. I forgive you, I repeated, more certain this time. Not because what you did was okay. It wasn't, but because I can't keep living inside that night. I can't keep measuring every day against the moment you left. Her eyes filled with tears again, but they were different now, softer, less jagged. "You don't owe me that," she whispered. "I know," I said. "It's not for you. It's for me." She nodded slowly, swallowing hard. "Does forgiveness mean," she began, hope flickering in her voice, "that maybe someday we could?" "It doesn't mean we get back together," I said gently, cutting through the sentence before it could take shape. "It means I'm setting both of us free from a story that doesn't have to be the only thing we are." The words hurt to say. They also felt like exhaling after holding my breath for a year. She covered her face for a moment, shoulders shaking in quiet grief. When she looked up, there was acceptance mingled with pain. "I understand," she said. "I don't like it, but I understand." We made coffee together, moving around each other in a careful, wordless choreography. Sunlight snuck past the edges of the curtains, turning the steam above the mugs into translucent ribbons. "Do you hate him?" I asked suddenly, surprising myself. "Ryan," she asked. "Yeah." She considered. "I think I hate who I was with him more than I hate him." Well, she said. "He was just a mirror for the parts of me I didn't want to admit existed." I nodded. "And me?" I asked quietly. "Who was I to you in the end?" Her gaze softened in a way that no longer made me ache, just sad in a manageable way. "You were home," she said, "and I ran away from home because I was afraid of how much it asked of me." We stood in that small kitchen, holding warm cups, two people who had loved and failed each other in deeply human ways. "Where will you go now?" I asked. She shrugged lightly. "I kept the apartment," she said, "the one near the gym. I might move eventually. For now, I'll sit in my own mess for a while. Try to build something better from it. If you ever really need help," I said slowly, "not as your husband, but as someone who shared 8 years of your life, you can call." Her eyes shone. "I don't deserve that either," she said. "Maybe not," I replied. But deserving stopped being the point a long time ago. She set her empty mug in the sink, the small clink sounding strangely final. "I should go," she said. We walked to the door. She slipped on her shoes, pulled on her jacket. Morning light pooled in the hallway, making dust in the air. At the threshold, she turned to me. "Thank you for opening the door yesterday," she said, "and for closing it now. The right way." Tears pricked at the back of my eyes, but they didn't fall. "Take care of yourself, Emma," I said. "You too," she replied. Then she stepped into the corridor and walked away, her footsteps growing faint. Just like the first time, only now, something inside me didn't follow. I closed the door. Leaning my forehead against the wood for a moment, I listened to the muted sounds of the building waking up. A distant radio, water running in a neighboring apartment, someone's keys jangling. The silence that followed wasn't empty anymore. It was open. I made another cup of coffee and stood by the window. Outside, the city glowed under soft morning light, everything touched with a kind of quiet gold that made even the wet pavement look almost. For the first time in a long time, I didn't replay the night she left or the day she came. I thought instead about the small, unremarkable moments ahead of me, grocery runs, new conversations, the possibility, distant but real, that one day I might sit at this table with someone who hadn't learned to love me through betrayal. Emma had left for her soulmate and returned with her life in pieces. I had spent a year staring at the rubble. Now, in the soft quiet of a new morning, I realized I didn't have to rebuild the same house. I could build something entirely different. And as the light slowly brightened the room, I let out a breath I hadn't known I was holding and whispered. To no one in particular, it's okay to let go now. The words didn't fix anything. They didn't erase the hurt or rewrite the past, but they made the present feel wide enough to step into. So I did. One quiet, ordinary morning at a time. Ordinary morning at a time.